Have you ever felt like the paralyzed warrior? Imagine the swordsman on the battlefield, holding the sharpest blade in Japan, with years of training in his hands and the perfect strategy in his mind, yet incapable of taking the first step. What stops him? It is not the enemy's strength. It is the torment of overanalysis. It is the doubt that settles in the millisecond before action. The silent pain of the modern man is precisely this: paralysis by analysis. You have the perfect idea, the clear vision of the future you wish to build, but the blade of your will remains in its sheath, paralyzed by internal noise. It is the curse of thinking too much and acting too little. The cost of this torment is measured in lost opportunities, in suffocated purpose, and in a heavy anxiety that settles in the soul. But the dilemma of the modern samurai is unforgiving. On the battlefield, hesitation is instantaneous death. In life, hesitation is the slow death of opportunity, the silent erosion of your destiny. The speed of your life does not lie in your ability to absorb more information. It lies in your ability to cut the noise. The promise of silence is the deepest key bequeathed by the master Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated warrior. The true secret to mastery resides not in complex tactics, nor in brute force. It resides in the emptiness of the mind, in the state of Mushin, before the blow is struck. The silence of the mind is the key to instant action. This is the revelation that will change the velocity of your life. Embrace Musashi's paradoxical statement. The speed of your decision does not depend on how fast you think, but on how profoundly you stop thinking. This is not a video about superficial productivity or forced optimism. It is a journey into the ancestral authority that transforms doubt into destiny. It is a timeless, often hidden and fragmented, knowledge that reveals the source of clarity, instant action, and mental freedom. Prepare to silence the mind and master overthinking. At this moment, the first key will be revealed: the distinction between the one who observes and the one who reacts. I invite you to feel the weight of your own indecision for a moment and to comment, "I am the silence that cuts." What sustains the weight of indecision is the fundamental failure to understand the nature of noise. The modern mind has been trained to believe that the solution to uncertainty is more certainty, which translates into more data, more planning, more opinions. However, uncertainty is the natural condition of the universe, and overthinking is merely the desperate, yet futile, attempt to control the future, seeking certainty in a world of impermanence. This struggle is the source of all exhaustion. Where do common solutions fail? They fail because they teach man to add, when ancestral wisdom demands subtraction. You try to meditate to relax, but Musashi teaches silence to sharpen. You try to plan to procrastinate action, but Musashi teaches strategy to steal the initiative. The problem is not your intelligence. It is the absence of the key piece, the capacity to separate the strategic mind from the emotional mind, the observer from the reactor. The failure lies in the belief that paralysis is a problem of time, when in reality it is a problem of focus. The time you spend hesitating is already the victory of your adversary. Your dissonance between knowing and doing is not just stealing time. It is stealing your purpose and your courage. The only way to eliminate mental paralysis and make quick decisions is not to speed up thinking, but to silence it. The knowledge we seek does not come from modern academia, but from battlefields and monasteries. Our source is not theory, but survival. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated master, is the center of this philosophy. He was not just a dualist, but a philosopher who distilled the truth of life in his book of 5 rings. His authority is unquestionable because he lived and acted on the edge where a thought meant death. Alongside him, we will have the lucidity of Shunryu Suzuki, the Zen master who taught the beginner's mind, Shoshin, the capacity to see the situation without the weight of past judgments, and the ruthless coldness of Chanakya, the Indian strategist who, in his Arthashastra, taught that decision is the single point where theory becomes destiny. This is knowledge that has been fragmented over the centuries, turning into self-help jargon. Here, we reconstruct it as the sharp blade that it is. The credibility of the path lies in its ancestral tradition, the union between the warrior's discipline, the monk's clarity, and the strategist's coldness. If this wisdom resonates in the most disciplined part of your soul, subscribe and activate the bell. Here, philosophy becomes the unshakable strategy for your destiny. Meet Hiroki. He was not a warrior with a sword, but an entrepreneur with a vision. His flaw was classic, the torment of analysis. As a young man, Hiroki spent weeks reading about investments, paralyzed by the fear of choosing the wrong asset. In college, he revised the same paragraph 10 times, hesitating to submit his paper, convinced that perfection was one thought away. His adult life was a sequence of almosts, the business idea that stayed on paper, the difficult conversation that was postponed until it was too late, the important relationship that dissolved due to his inability to make a clear and quick decision. Hiroki was living proof that paralysis is more costly than error. He tried meditation, but his agitated mind treated meditation as just another task to be perfected. He read strategy books, but only added more data to his already saturated mind. It was in a moment of despair, after losing a major business opportunity by hesitating for 72 hours, that he stumbled upon Musashi's lesson. Do not think that action must be perfect before it is taken. Hiroki understood that a practical secret existed. Clarity only comes in motion. He discovered that the change he sought was not a gift, but a profound, inevitable, and permanent achievement. He was ready for the revelation in stages, the 8 layers that transform the paralyzed warrior into instant action. The journey to the mastery of decision is a path of 8 cuts, where each principle eliminates a layer of overthinking. First layer, the veiled restlessness. Your greatest weakness is the wound of uncertainty. Overthinking is the desperate, yet futile, attempt to control the future. The mind seeks certainty in a world made of chaos and impermanence, and the conflict between the desire for control and reality is what generates constant noise. Musashi teaches that the warrior's mind is not divided. You must separate the strategic mind, which observes the situation, from the emotional mind, which reacts to uncertainty. Your paralysis grants the enemy, doubt, the advantage of consuming your time. Your nervous system is in a constant state of alert and calculation, which is exhausting. The mirror metaphor is the antidote. The agitated mind is a lake in a storm, incapable of reflecting the truth of the situation. You fight against the distorted image, the fear, not against the actual fact. You need silence to see the surface. Second layer, the subtle self-deception. Procrastination is not laziness. It is the refuge of perfection. The invisible error is infinite planning, the intellectualized excuse for the cowardice of imperfect action. You feel productive creating detailed spreadsheets, but you are only delaying the moment of risk. Musashi called this passivity. The master teaches the doctrine of Sen, the strategic initiative. Do not wait for the perfect opportunity. Create it. Steal the initiative before the adversary, doubt, or competitor moves. The silent cost of this dissonance between knowing and doing is the erosion of your self-confidence. Chanakya, the strategist, was relentless. Decision is the single point where theory becomes destiny. Until you act, your plan is merely a useless fantasy. Hiroki learned that the checklist was, in fact, his trap. Third layer, the power of pre-action silence, Mushin. Here lies the core of the transformation. Mushin, mind without thoughts. It is not passivity. It is the state of total readiness. Emptiness is strength. With no internal distractions, the reflection is pure, direct. The inversion of logic is the key. Do not try to force the decision with more data. Try to clean the lens of the mind so that the essential answer reveals itself. It is the beginner's mind, Shoshin, of Shunryu Suzuki. The expert has few options. The beginner, clean, has all. The neuroscientific connection validates this. The prefrontal cortex, overanalysis, must quiet down for the cerebellum and limbic system, instinctive and rapid action, to take over. Silence is the conscious shutdown of excessive analysis. Instant action must be as natural as the breath of the wind, without deliberation, but with purpose. Fourth layer, the brutal cut. Mastery is not about what to do, but about what to ignore. The Art of Ignoring, Musashi, states that the most difficult, yet most essential, decision is to cut away what is useless. Most of your options are noise projected by anxiety. Identify the vital principle, the 20% that yields 80% of the result. The master is not the one who knows everything, but the one who knows what to ignore with absolute conviction. The 5-second exercise is the method, the strategic stop. Before acting, ask, what is the simplest, most direct action I know I must take now? And execute before the mind responds with an excuse. Musashi's mountain analogy. The strategist does not try to conquer the entire mountain. He targets the summit and eliminates all detours. Fifth layer, decision as habit. The speed of decision is a muscle that atrophies with hesitation. Daily training begins with low-risk decisions. Train instant action in trivial choices: what to eat, which path to take, which shirt to wear. The correction cycle is the key to freedom. Do not cling to the error. Failure is not defeat. It is the delay in correcting the error. Treat the emotion of the mistake, guilt, fear, as an opponent and cut it immediately. Clarity only comes in motion. The active silence is Dogen's meditation. 1 minute of meditation before starting an important task, not to relax, but to clear the mind and sharpen intention. Hiroki stopped reading about the routine and began acting on it. Sixth layer, the warrior's forging. The cruel truth of liberated action is that the weight of indecision is always greater than the weight of the wrong decision. Indecision carries the weight of potential and regret. Decision carries only the weight of the fact, which can be immediately corrected. The inner turn is the consequence. Mental freedom is the byproduct of self-mastery and disciplined action. It is not a gift you receive. It is an achievement you forge in the fire of action. The man who acts without hesitation is not the one without fear, but the one who has transformed fear into fuel for the initiative. Sen. The lesson of the sword is the summary. The blade only cuts when it is released from the sheath, the thought. Seventh layer, the legacy of decision. The path to mastery requires the solitude of decision. Musashi. You must accept that by acting with clarity, you will always displease someone. A critic, a family member, or an old version of yourself who preferred the safety of paralysis. You must be ready to sustain the way of solitude. Adopt the beginner's mind in every action. Suzuki. Do not think I decided this before. Just decide now based on what is real and the vital point. The sage is the mountain, unshakable in its essence, that allows the wind, thoughts and challenges to pass without resistance. Your action is the mountain responding to the wind, not fighting it. Eighth layer, the unshakable stance of Chanakya. The strategist of Chanakya teaches the control of the core. The master does not allow external chaos to penetrate and contaminate the center of his decision. The final mental model is that your unshakable stance is your clear purpose. Purpose is not a distant ideal. It is the magnet that pulls all your decisions in the same direction, eliminating the friction of doubt and indecision. When purpose is clear and the mind is silent, the cut is inevitable. Mental paralysis vanishes because doubt no longer has space to cling to. If this philosophy resonates with you, subscribe and activate the bell. Here, philosophy becomes the unshakable strategy for your destiny. For the duration of this deep reflection, you may have felt the weight lift from your own blade. Focus now. Feel the clarity emerging in the absence of trying to force clarity. You may feel warmth, a tingling in your hands, a dense energy accumulating. This is not an idea. It is the immediate subjective validation that your system is responding to the cessation of the internal war of overthinking. The unshakable strength is not the absence of fear, but the disciplined action that transforms fear into fuel for the initiative. You are experiencing Mushin at a fundamental level. The silence of your reaction, the strategic pause that allows the simplest action. Mental paralysis is not an insoluble mystery. It is the failure to apply the essential triad of warrior wisdom. The path to instant decision is clear and non-fragmented. Silence before acting, Mushin, cut the useless, vital principle, and immediate action, Sen, at the vital point. The joint lesson is the synthesis of power, Musashi's strategic discipline, combined with Shunryu Suzuki's clear and detached mind. The path is not to conquer the world. It is to conquer yourself, eliminating the internal enemy of indecision. The shift in consciousness that seals your transformation is the understanding that the power of instant action has always been with you. Hesitation is not the lack of a skill. It is the dependence on thought. The final secret is the recognition of your own essence. You are action, not analysis. Paralysis is an illusion that dissolves the moment you move. The strategic warrior does not seek clarity. He creates it in movement. The power has always been within you. The final secret is the recognition of your own essence. You are action, not analysis. The final manifesto is the call. If you are tired of being the paralyzed warrior, it is time to act. Subscribe. Here, philosophy becomes the sharp blade that transforms doubt into destiny. Comment below. I am the silence that cuts. This sentence seals your brotherhood with the way of action.